Hey, I wish I had music, but my laptop is broke right now. So I'm gonna make this better first. Yes, I locked the door. So let me see. Okay, it's about to get dark in a minute. Okay, I'm about to clean. Mm-hmm. I think I would come through. Where's my cousin? That is so loud. People act like they can hear me. I think I found everybody else. Albert. I got him on Instagram. He said he's been good. Nina. I have not found Nina. I think I haven't seen Nina for like 10 years. I did found her once. She was going to UC's Riverside. But that was like 10 years ago. I hope she's still doing good. We went to school since like kindergarten. And when they took us to foster care, they took her to foster care. I was trying to be her friend, but she stepped on my finger. I didn't know we was friends in high school, but then I think she got mad at me because I started being out here. I don't know why she got mad at me. Life was just so bad. I stopped talking to everybody in high school. A lot of people, ooh, I just started acting like they didn't exist. Life just got too stressful. Life was stressful. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Father, Yahuah, please give me the strength to get up and get everything done that I need to get done. Please protect my children. Please protect all the children. Please help us to fight these battles this day. Please strengthen our holy angels. Please expose and weaken the demons.
war with Iran. Now, General George is the Army's top military officer. The shakeup comes less than 1 day after the president delivered that pointless primary address that was sold as a major update on the war. Not only did it contain no major update, it also appears to have done more harm than good, both politically and economically. Tonight, West Texas Intermediate crude oil closed at its highest price since June 2022, more than $111 a barrel. Folks, that's $44 higher than it was at the start of the war, which was only 5 weeks ago. And the national average for a gallon of gas has reached $4.08, according to AAA. And if you would like to hear what the president really thinks about the economic pain of everyday Americans, well, just listen to what he said in private yesterday in a video the White House released on accident, apparently.
It's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things. They can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing, military protection. We have to guard the country.
The White House posted that video to their YouTube, by the way.
So
White
let
House
the
does
state
say that the
separate.
video was taken out of context.
And look out for
I
the
don't
young
know. We'll
people.
let you get the joke of that.
Yeah, take it out of context. So,
Separate from the
just
government.
real
He's
quick
saying
on
the
that
government is not
last
for the
point
people.
president made about, oh,
So
we
mayors
can't do it all. We can't
get your
feed
city
the
together
poor.
and connect with other mayors.
What's
He's saying he's not for us. He's saying it clearly.
Well, wait, if y'all remember the Vietnam War, at the height of the Vietnam War, this country created Medicaid, Medicare,
And y'all not getting the picture. He's not for us.
programs, right?
It's gonna be a civil war.
We took care of the children. We took care of the least of those.
They're kidnapping the children. They're not safe.
Feeding the war. Yeah, there were big political debates about whether or not we should do it, the Great Society and all that. But to hear this president whining like a little baby president that he can't do it all, well, then you know what? You shouldn't be in the job. You really shouldn't be in
Save
the
the
job.
kids.
I just feel bad for all of the Democratic ad makers
Trump
that are
knows
going to
the
lose work
difference.
this season, because all you need is someone with Final Cut Pro to cut that down and run it as an ad, because it really speaks for itself in terms of its priorities. Look, I also think, I mean, given your time in the White House, that you must have been absolutely stunned by the reporting we saw today in Time Magazine. Susie Wiles, the president's chief of staff, saying this about the information the president is getting about the Iran war. White House chief of staff Susie Wiles, according to 2 White House sources, was concerned aides were giving the president a rose-colored view of how the war was being perceived domestically, telling Trump what he wanted to hear instead of what he needed to hear. She had urged colleagues, the officials say, to be more forthright with the boss about the political and economic risks. The meeting reflected a reality the White House can no longer ignore. Time is running out before the president, his party, and the American public pay an even steeper price.
It is, it is not unheard of for people to present to the president or the vice president a rosier outlook. What is unheard of is that the White House chief of staff allows it to go on to the point where allies of the White House chief of staff are making sure the good journalists from the Wall Street Journal are writing up what they're doing. That is uncomfortable, frankly. And I think that what we are seeing is that Susie Wiles understands that this is a problem. And a problem that she wants the president to know is a problem. And so maybe if you just put it out there for the world to see, maybe Donald Trump will get it together. I have long since believed that they are lying to him about the numbers and not telling him the full truth. Because he doesn't want the truth.
Thank you.
He doesn't want the
You
truth.
have to understand why that's happening.
Well, and you know what? You know what said this? Bring that out. She is me and Eugene's guest on Clocket this week, and what she said when we talked about Trump on the podcast is that the rosier outlook makes him feel better because it's a harder pill to swallow. That the reason gas prices are up is because of what you did, instead of all these other people just not doing things right in the Strait of Hormuz.
I mean, this is the same man who took a map of a hurricane and he didn't like the trajectory of the hurricane and drew with his Sharpie that the hurricane was going to go or did go in a different direction. That was not the reality. And so Susie Wiles knew that walking into this job. She knew walking into the job who was sitting on the other side of that desk, you know? A man who is so deflated in his ability to do the job that he can't take truth about the job itself? And this is the man who's committing our troops, 50,000 of them, Alicia, to go fight a war that he's bored with? And we've got to sort of doctor and dumb down the information? Who looks stupid here?
I would just say he is getting compilation videos of the strikes that we are apparently carrying out in Iran. And that is constituting, this is according to NBC News, his briefings. It's crazy.
Indeed it is. Coming up next on All In, California Congressman and gubernatorial candidate Eric Swalwell is going to join the show. It's 8 o'clock Eastern right here on MS Now. I'm right back.
Age-related memory decline? Meet new Qunol Brain Health, the first and only tablet to combine 2 high-absorption ingredients, clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Trust Qunol for more comprehensive brain health support.
Starting the dishes without water?
Yeah, Dawn Power Wash works differently. It's the loose ingredients hold up to 99% of burnt on, baked on messes in half the time. And it tackles grease all around the kitchen.
That's how you get through it.
Dawn
And it can spread.
It's time to start using thumbnail. Maximum strength thumbnail is so powerful it causes and prevents
But wear it down, and for the first time in a while, you'll like the way your part is falling. This shift, it comes from sticking with a routine that works from the inside out. Get growing at Nutrafol.com.
Runners will do anything to cut through the wind. Why? When you can go fast the easy way with Skechers Aeroburst. High-performance running shoes designed to cut through the wind with unbelievable speed. Plus, they're ultra lightweight and feature good use rubber. Go fast in Skechers Aeroburst.
Guys, I'm on the road, and I've lost 45 pounds. In fact, I've lost everything but my big mouth. Losing weight on road is simpler. Even a dummy like me can't mess that up. Stats are looking good on road. Even my legendary golf swing is leveling up. I'm Charles Barkley, and this is me on road. Wait, you're telling me to have a GLP-1 pill for weight loss now?
The first time I experienced vertigo, the room was spinning, like I was in a clothes dryer. Then I started taking Lipo Balance Support. Its ingredients are clinically shown to help reduce dizziness and spinning. Take back control with Lipo Flavonoid. LED therapy mask, clinical proven to reduce fine lines and wrinkles. Find out what you can features at OmniLux7.com.
So Dan, you really need to get that colon cancer screen. Dale, don't worry. We can do it with just the blood test.
Let's do it.
She was for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield from the company trusted in blood tests for cancer for over a decade. Age-related memory decline? Meet new Qunol Brain Health, the first and only tablet to combine 2 high-absorption ingredients, clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Trust Qunol for more comprehensive brain health support.
It goes with my razor. My nose, my ears, my mouth. It's perfect every time.
This is Titanium Edge by Microtouch, the 2-in-1 nose and ear groomer that goes where racers can't. Nose, ears, brow, and head, and dual interchangeable heads for maximum versatility. Plus, hypoallergenic stainless steel blades bonded with titanium for an ultra-clean cut in places clippers can't touch. Eliminate that unibrow with precision and safety for that ultra-clean groove. Remove ear hair with a swipe. Change the head and target nose hair. No nicks, no cuts.
It targets the hair that you don't want with laser focus. It's what I need to finish my groom.
Get the Titanium Edge, the precision head for ears and nose, plus the shave head for brows. All for only $39.99. Get your edge at titaniumedge.com.
Really happy to have you here. Happy Monday. I have some stuff to show you guys. If we are trying to backstop our democracy, part of it is Congress asserting itself. How hard has it been to get this information? Can I just get your take, your read on what's going on here? Trump has never been less powerful. The agenda he's pursuing has never been more evident and more unpopular. The people on the other side of this fight, they know the way they're going to save American democracy is by using American democratic means to do so.
Well, that does it for the weeknight. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. And a new episode of Clock It, You Got It, just dropped. Rachel Maddow joined Simone and Eugene to discuss whether the president can still distinguish reality from fantasy. That should have been an interesting conversation. Scan for the QR code on your screen to listen now and subscribe to MS Now Premium on Apple Podcasts for ad-free listening and bonus content. All In with Chris Hayes starts right now.
Good evening from New York. I'm Antonia Hilton in tonight for Chris Hayes. Today we saw the Trump doctrine in full effect, both domestically and abroad. Here at home, Donald Trump fired his Attorney General Pam Bondi via social media post. He said Bondi will, quote, be transitioning to a much needed and important new job in the private sector to be announced at a date in the near future. For now, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche has been elevated to acting AG. MS Now reports that there's already a short list to replace Bondi in the long term, including current EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, former Fox News personality and current U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri, and Trump's former personal lawyer Alina Habba, who is currently on the job market after an appeals court disqualified her from serving as the U.S. Attorney for the state. Now, to be clear, Trump did not fire Bondi for any of the obvious reasons you might be thinking about at home. For example, he did not fire her for dismissing Epstein survivors, refusing to look them in the eye, or for public outbursts during congressional hearings.
How many of Epstein's conspiracies investigating?
First, you showed it. I find
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me, I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No, you didn't answer the question the way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people.
Bondi is also not on the outs for her weaponization of the Justice Department for political ends. You may recall last year when Trump accidentally posted on social media what seemed to be a private message to Bondi, directly pressuring her to launch investigations into his political opponents, including James Comey, Senator Adam Schiff, and New York AG Tish James. All three were indeed investigated. Comey and James were even indicted, although those cases eventually fell apart at the seams. And ultimately, that is why Trump fired her, because she failed, because she was unable to wield the DOJ as a weapon against Trump's perceived enemies. As the Wall Street Journal reported back in January, quote, chief among Trump's grievances is what he sees as Bondi's failure to quickly and effectively prosecute the investigators who have pursued him for years. It seems Trump wants an attorney general who will execute his agenda, facts and rule of law be damned, one who will prosecute anyone he says he wants prosecuted, and who will successfully withhold the Epstein files in defiance of federal law, and somehow accomplish all of that without creating a PR problem, turning it into his Achilles heel. That is really the core of the Trump doctrine. He kind of wants to govern like a king, and he needs someone who will wield the Justice Department like a sword. He did joke he might be a dictator on day one. The thing is, this is also how Trump conducts his foreign policy. It was the logic behind his decision, for example, to snatch the leader of a sovereign country, Venezuela, and throw him in a jail cell in Brooklyn, because he wanted more control of this hemisphere. It was that mission that Trump seems to be trying to emulate with his war now with Iran. Unilateral strikes without permission from Congress, without consulting the UN or our NATO allies, in order to topple a foreign government, and with zero regard for the rules of engagement. Rules his defense secretary, of course, has been disregarding as woke. Often the only rules that Trump recognizes are the ones that he's set for himself. It is why, as we saw last night, he is still unable to clearly define the reasons we entered this war in the first place, apart from unsubstantiated claims about their imminent nuclear capabilities. It's also why he's unable to tell us a clear end game here. So the war is just dragging on for a few more weeks at least, but maybe even longer. 13 Americans have died, 3,500 Iranians, and about 1,500 others throughout the Middle East. And here at home, oil prices are surging, but you know that. Experts are warning of the potential for an energy crisis, worse than the oil shocks of the 1970s. And Donald Trump can't or won't find an off-ramp because the Trump doctrine says he can take what he wants and remove anyone in his way without any regard for the consequences, whether that's in Iran or it's at the Justice Department. Joining me now with the latest is Ken Galanian, Justice and Intelligence Correspondent for MS Now. Ken, it's good to see you. So you have been talking to sources all day long, I know. Tell me, what more have you learned about Bondi's departure?
Well, for one thing, Antonia, it seems to have been a surprise to Bondi and her camp. She didn't see it coming, which is maybe surprising to all of us because it was pretty clear that she was on thin ice over the Epstein matter, as well as you laid out very, very well there, essentially her failure to weaponize the Justice Department sufficiently enough and successfully enough. But it did seem to come as a surprise. You know, Bondi and Trump went together to the Supreme Court to hear the birthright citizenship arguments, and we're not exactly sure when he gave her the news, but I was talking to people close to her today who weren't fully up to speed on exactly what was happening. But look, I think it's a combination of things that led to this dismissal. You're right to say that the primary reason, as we understand it, according to sources, was Trump's growing dissatisfaction with her inability to deliver on essentially putting his enemies in prison. But of course, we all know the reason she hasn't been able to deliver is not a lack of a willingness, a lack of her capacity to try to use the Justice Department to do this. It's been the legal system, the court system, the grand jurors releasing, indicting, for example, members of Congress who told the military that they are free to ignore illegal orders, and judges who dismissed the cases against James Comey and Letitia James on the grounds that the U.S. attorney wasn't properly appointed. And if Donald Trump thinks that some other person, Eric Schmidt of Missouri or Jeanine Pirro or someone else is going to be more successful, he's in for a rude awakening because there are just structural impediments to doing what he wants done in the face of a lack of evidence. But Bonnie also suffered, as we've been talking about all day, from the mishandling of the Epstein file situation. When she famously, set expectations by handing a bunch of binders to right-wing influencers, suggesting that there was new information. Turned out there wasn't any new information, and she went on Fox and said she had Epstein's client list on her desk, and she had to later acknowledge there was no client list. And then she went full circle, endorsing a Justice Department view that the file shouldn't be released, that there was and of course she had to reverse that in the face of a law passed by Congress requiring her to release those files, which they then did, but they did it by many accounts badly. And they redacted things that shouldn't have been redacted, and they held back documents related to Donald Trump. They released the names of some victims and some victim information. And so a growing number of even Republicans in Congress were dissatisfied with her handling of the Epstein files, and that laid the groundwork for Donald Trump to fulfill his dissatisfaction with her handling of the
Congressman Eric Swalwell, he's a Democrat from California. He serves on the Judiciary Committee and is a candidate for governor. He joins me now. Congressman, good to see you. So, as I'm sure you saw, Shelby Talcott from Semaphore was on with me earlier today, and she's been reporting that part of the reason Bondi was fired is that Trump suspects about an effort by the administration to release files from a 10-year-old closed investigation into your relationship with an alleged Chinese spy. Did Bondi or anyone in her orbit leak information to you, Congressman?
No. The Attorney General did not tip us off. No one in her orbit tipped us off. It was FBI agents who tipped off the Washington Post because they saw this effort by Kash Patel and Donald Trump to try and interfere in a California governor's race that I have been leading. And so, what this shows, though, and what is quite concerning, is that Donald Trump is seeing ghosts. He's certainly gunning for us, and he wants an attorney general who's willing to break the law and weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. That is what has to be intolerable, not just for Pam Bondi, and I don't know the reasons why she was let go, but it has to be intolerable for anybody who sits in that chair and carries out what we hope to be the rule of law and a system of justice.
So you say you don't know the reason that she was fired, but you know that it wasn't you.
I have no
I'm
idea.
curious though. I'm curious though, if.
But I'm in Donald Trump's head, and he's tweeted at me at 4:45 in the morning, so.
Hey, I cannot get into Donald Trump's head. I would never ask that of you. But when you look at the facts, at what we do know, at what my colleague Kendalladian just laid out there, do you see this as a case that's more likely about her failure to successfully go after his perceived enemies, like yourself, like Adam Schiff, like Tish James, although they're trying another route to go after her right now? Or do you see this as an Epstein-related PR problem?
It concerns me that it looks like it's the former, that she won't go after enough enemies. And by the way, I don't know many Americans who are saying, I need Donald Trump to go after more of his political enemies. They're already seeing him come for Adam Schiff, Tish James, Lisa Cook, myself, the 6 members of Congress who spoke out about what the military can and cannot do. This is not what people want the president to prioritize. And I can't speak for every American, but I can speak for Californians. And Californians want him to just focus on being a president who lowers the costs on day one. He hasn't lowered the costs on day one. He's been a dictator since day one. That's the only promise that he's kept. But people want him to just lower the costs.
Do Democrats have much to celebrate? I've seen some of your colleagues putting out statements. I know they're certainly not shedding a tear for Bondi today, but we have now Blanche, who some of the survivors that our team has spoken to, in some cases, they actually see him as even more responsible because he flew down, met with Ghislaine Maxwell. After that interaction, she of course got into better digs in this sort of prison camp. And he's sort of been side by side with her throughout that entire process. Then we know that Lee Zeldin is interested in the job, Jeanine Pirro. I mean, is there a scenario in which, from the Democratic perspective, what comes next is even worse?
That's right. This is not something to celebrate because we know Donald Trump's instincts here seem to be that he wants somebody to exercise maximum corruption against his political enemies. And what the Deputy Attorney General and Acting Attorney General should know is that Democrats are going to win the Congress this coming fall. And Jamie Raskin and Robert Garcia are going to have gavels, and they're going to have the subpoena power, and they're going to have the power of oversight and the power of the purse, Speaker Jeffries, to fund Congress. It's all coming out. It always has in the history of our country, from J. Edgar Hoover to Watergate and Richard Nixon to the last time Donald Trump was elected and acted so corruptly. It is all coming out. And by the way, we are at war. Gas prices are soaring. Iran seeks to attack us on the homeland, and the surveillance powers that the FBI uses expire on April 20. Democrats are telling me, over 100 of them have told me that they will not reauthorize this if this is what they're doing with their law enforcement powers, that they will not give them those powers to protect the homeland if it's just going to be used to go after their political enemies. The stakes are high, and the consequences, though, for abuses of power come this time next year will be even higher.
Speaking of oversight, what do you think the chances are that she actually comes forward and goes before lawmakers and testifies under oath as she was supposed to do in just a matter of days?
That should still happen. And this, the Epstein, debacle and the promises that the president made, it's not going away. There's more questions now than have been answered from the multiple witnesses who have come forward, and the lack of, I would say, compliance that the administration has shown on releasing the files. And Democrats.
Well, what are Democrats going to do if she simply does not? I mean, our colleague Michael Schnell, she spoke with staff for Chairman Comer, and it sounds like the suggestion seemed to be if she's not AG anymore, why would we have her show up? So what are Democrats gonna do if she tries to wiggle out of this?
Well, Democrats have, on this issue, been able to find Republican co-sponsors. You know, there are people like Thomas Massey and others who have worked with us to find justice for these victims. And the margins in Congress are so thin right now that you don't need to find too many. And that's again why I am telegraphing that when Democrats are in the majority next year, it's all coming out. And so the brave FBI agents who came forward to, you know, make it clear what abuses were occurring against us in this governor's race last week, come forward now. If you continue these abuses, you will be before Congress. Reputationally, you won't get through this. If you come forward though, and you say no to these abuses, and you tell, you know, the Congress and the whistleblower protections that you have, you will be protected. It's that clear right now, and you know the stakes of not coming forward for our democracy are so consequential and could end this 250-year experiment of freedom.
All right, Congressman Eric Swalwell, good to see you. Thank you.
You too. My pleasure.
Coming up, what's Pam Bondi's replacement going to do that she could not? The sliding scale of Trump's attorney general picks. That's next after this break.
The UPS store is more than just a shipping store. We're the packet, shipping, guaranteed store. We know running a small business takes a lot of grit. So we're the We've Got Your Back store. Because when you trust us to pack it and ship it, we guarantee it, so it'll get into the hands of your customers safely. Which is why we're the Stand By Our Work guaranteed store. This Easter season, get 20% off packing at the UPS store.
Like when learn more about Celebrity Cruises' latest offers.
When COPD tried to stop you, you kept going. Breztri, a 3-in-1 inhaler, better breathing starting within 5 minutes and helps prevent flare-ups. Breztri won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. It is not for asthma. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Don't take Breztri more than prescribed. Breztri may increase risk of thrush, pneumonia, and osteoporosis. Call your doctor if worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur. Ask your doctor about Breztri.
Want the fastest working GLP-1 for half the price? Ro now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper, so you can see weight loss results faster. Lose 20% of your weight with a formula that hits not 1, but 2 hormones for less hunger and faster results. Weight loss faster, confidence higher, price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.
I never thought I would develop shingles. I was wrong. I didn't know that 99% of people over 50 already have the virus that causes shingles, and it could reactivate.
Don't learn the hard way like I did. Talk to your healthcare provider today.
We knew our last Verbo was going to be incredible. We didn't know the hot tub was broken. But thanks to Verbo Care and 24/7 live support, they moved us. Better place, better hot tub.
Got any room for Dad?
Think again, Bruce.
Yeah.
Teenagers are full of surprises. Verbo is not. If you know, you're Verbo.
Hey, let's order in tonight.
Ooh.
What should we get?
Yeah. Anything. You know I'm easy.
What about Greek?
Nah.
Maybe Mexican?
Too spicy.
Japanese?
More specific?
Ramen.
Doesn't travel.
Chinese?
Yes, but not tonight.
Italian?
That's lunch.
Oh, Indian?
Yes.
Should we order from Masala Place?
Whatever. I'm easy.
Cash back on small victories.
Masala Place.
Earn 3% on dining.
Masala Place is good.
With Chase Freedom Unlimited.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, a premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs. Increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor or 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
MS Now brings you the most talked about moments of the week from Crooked Media's chart-topping podcasts.
Trump's not going to let a little war get in the way of making money.
Crooked on MS Now, Saturdays at 9.
Do you think that America is awake and alert?
Democrats seem to be finding their footing. People are really down on this president about the economy.
No ethics violations are being prosecuted.
The weekend prime time, Saturdays and Sundays at 6 on MS Now.
Pam Bondi is out, but her saga is just the latest in a long downward spiral when it comes to Donald Trump's picks for Attorney General. You may recall his very first Attorney General back in 2017, Jeff Sessions, a name I haven't said in a while, recused himself from the DOJ's Russia investigation into Trump. And the president, he was big mad.
The Attorney General says I'm going to recuse myself. And I said, why the hell didn't he tell me that before I put him in? How do you recuse yourself?
When Donald Trump fired Jeff Sessions, he was ultimately replaced by William Barr, who had written a whole treatise on how to defend the president from the Mueller probe. But Barr would eventually resign too, under pressure, after telling reporters that contrary to Trump's version of events, there was no significant fraud in the 2020 election. Trump's first AG choice for his second term, remember, was none other than Matt Gaetz, who didn't even make it to a Senate vote. And so then Pam Bondi took the baton until she apparently irked the president by mismanaging the Epstein case, and her prosecutions of Trump's perceived enemies got stalled. So now we get Todd Blanche as acting attorney general. The president's former criminal defense attorney, who moved Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell to a cushier prison after a conversation in which Maxwell made sure to emphasize that she never saw the president doing anything illegal. Donald Trump has run through a long list of MAGA loyalists in search of an attorney general who will do his complete bidding. And it raises the question, what exactly will Todd Blanche or his eventual successor do for Trump that Pam Bondi wouldn't or couldn't? Barbara McQuaid is a former U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan and the author of The Fix, Saving America from the Corruption of a Mob-Style Government. Paul Butler is a former federal prosecutor specializing in public corruption and a Washington Post contributing columnist. They both join me now. Great to have you guys. Barbara, I'll start with you and basically ask you the question that I just posed there. What is Todd Blanche going to be able to do that Pam Bondi wasn't able to accomplish? And that's not to take up for her, but especially on the side of going after Trump's enemies. If the facts just aren't there, there's really no way to invent them. How is Blanche or anyone else going to be able to work with that same reality but get a different result?
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if Todd Blanche were able to get a different result. I think maybe what Donald Trump is accomplishing by making this switch are a couple of things. One is he's received so much criticism from his base about the Epstein files. He can perhaps hope to sweep it all away by blaming it all on Pam Bondi and putting someone else in the spot. This is just an acting spot, so it may be that Todd Blanche does not stay through the duration, but he has proven his bona fides to Donald Trump. As you say, he represented Donald Trump in his criminal cases, representing him not only in the hush money case in Manhattan, but also the federal cases involving the documents at Mar-a-Lago and the election interference case. So Donald Trump, no doubt, has confidence in him and his loyalty, which seems to be more important than anything else. But Todd Blanche is somebody who has declared war on the judiciary. He is someone who bragged to CPAC most recently about cleaning house and ridding the department of the people at the FBI and the prosecutors at DOJ who prosecuted those cases, as well as the January 6 cases. But as you said, it wasn't for lack of trying that Pam Bondi was unable to convict Donald Trump's enemies. We saw her make efforts to charge Jim Comey and Letitia James, Jerome Powell at the Federal Reserve, Tim Walz and Jacob Fry in Minnesota, and even members of Congress who did nothing more than record a video accurately reciting the law. But there are safeguards in the criminal justice system, in the grand jury, and in judges, and in the jury system. And I don't think Todd Blanche is going to have any more luck than Pam Bondi did in getting those guardrails to fail.
Paul, moments ago, I asked Congressman Swalwell about Democrats who have been waiting for weeks and weeks to get Pam Bondi in front of them to testify under oath. Now there seem to be some signals that Republicans may, or some Republicans may, try to help her get out of that, now that it's, I guess, no longer her job. Do you think that Todd Blanche is a good substitute, that they have a way to make sure she still shows up for a subpoena in her name? What do you think they have at their disposal to still make something happen here?
Congress has the ability to subpoena anybody who's under the jurisdiction of the United States. Steve Bannon got into criminal trouble when he refused to obey a subpoena from Congress. And so, yes, she's being asked to testify about her response or lack thereof to the Epstein Files Transparency Act. She's got to come. She wasn't subpoenaed as the Attorney General. She was subpoenaed as Pam Bondi. And Antonia, I have to say, Congressman Swalwell was a lot calmer than I would be based on today's news, because we know that the president has been gunning for him. And if Bondi was fired because she wasn't partisan enough, she wasn't willing to go all the way and do all the things to weaponize the Justice Department, then surely he is now looking for someone who will do that. So Swalwell, Alvin Bragg, there are a number of people who got to be concerned about today's developments, not because there's any evidence that they committed a crime, but that no longer is a barrier to being investigated and prosecuted by the Trump administration.
Barbara, if Bondi can be pushed out despite the fact that she has been so loyal, that she at least gave all these prosecutions a go, there are still many in the works. I mean, they're coming back after Tish James. First it was mortgage fraud, now they're trying to go the insurance fraud route. You know, if she, after doing all of that, still gets pushed out of the inner circle, what does this tell you about what's happening inside of the DOJ right now? I mean, particularly at a time when there are real domestic threats to Americans because of this war that the president has dragged us into. Are you worried about what's going on inside the department below just whoever is the head of it?
Oh, absolutely, and I have been for some time. The Justice Department has, since Watergate, been an independent agency that works to protect the public safety and American interest. It represents not the president, but the people of the United States. And instead, what we've seen in the Trump administration is an effort to use the Justice Department as his own personal law firm, right? I mean, he went to the Great Hall and announced that he was going to be himself the chief law enforcement officer. His face hangs from a banner outside the building. All of those things suggest that it is not the kind of job that most of us held when we were there, but is instead a political job. Now, there are still some very good people within the Justice Department, and I'm grateful that they continue to do their work. But it has to be disheartening to see the misplaced priorities of evening scores with President Trump's political enemies instead of focusing on the real threats. And as you say, we're at war with Iran. They are a state sponsor of terrorism, and we have purged a number of national security agents and prosecutors at the very moment when we should be on high alert for those kinds of threats. And so I do worry about the capability and the priorities of the department at this moment.
Paul, quickly before we have to go, what options are ahead of survivors here? Many of them have been, I'm not even sure patient quite describes the way that they have held it together through this entire process. Some of them spoke to our colleague Lisa Rubin earlier, and even in their statements to her seemed to suggest that they were going to leave the door open for the possibility of change here, that maybe Blanche or Zeldin, whoever it might be, would take a different approach with them, that they would be open to having a different kind of relationship with whoever's going to be there than the one that they had with Bondi. If you were advising Epstein survivors about the kinds of moves, options ahead of them right now, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that I've got some bad news. They don't have a lot of great options. They might have some civil remedies, but they should not expect any help from this administration or this Department of Justice. So Bondi was fired reportedly because Trump was mad about how she handled the Epstein files, not because she reportedly didn't respect the congressional law, the Transparency Act, and not because she reportedly didn't hand over everything that she was required to hand over. Trump was mad because she didn't protect him enough. She embarrassed him, and so he will find an attorney general who will not make that mistake. So there's no reason that the Epstein survivors should have any hope in Todd Blanche. He was a very good defense attorney for Donald Trump. He did lose that one case with Bragg. Bragg got his client convicted of 34 felons, but he had a good reputation as a defense attorney, Antonia, and he's still been acting like Trump's defense attorney while he's been at the Department of Justice.
So you don't think there's much hope for the survivors to build a different relationship with this DOJ? Paul Butler, thank you. Barbara McQuaid, thank you so much. Still ahead, as Donald Trump tries to gain control of the midterm elections, Stacey Abrams joins me next on what's about to happen.
This is the true story of Alex. Recently promoted, he was earning more, but investing for the future, he definitely needed a plan. With his advisor Dennis, Alex invested his savings into 3 accounts, one for now, one for later, and of course, his retirement. A plan in motion put the future in focus. The wedding, the barn dominium, kids, maybe kids. The point here, Alex has more than big goals for his future. He's got a plan to get there.
The joy of traveling well is feeling at home, yet a million miles away from home. Discovering new flavors, or savoring the ones you already love. Not knowing what lies beyond the horizon, but knowing what matters most to you. This is the joy of traveling well. Oceana Cruises.
For pain in multiple spots like here, here, or here, Salon Pass patches stick firmly and remove comfortably once your pain is gone. Salon Pass. It's good medicine.
Age-related memory decline? Meet new Qunol Brain Health, the first and only tablet to combine 2 high-absorption ingredients, clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Trust Qunol for more comprehensive brain health support.
As I started growing out my natural hair color, I noticed my moderate to severe lines. I booked a Botox cosmetic consultation to temporarily make my frown, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better. What was important to me was that I still look like me, just with fewer lines. And I'm confident about my results.
Botox cosmetic effects may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox cosmetic if you have skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow, eyelid drooping, or swelling. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, and medications including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
I'm the one and only Delphina, and I got treated with the one and only Botox cosmetic.
Find a licensed Botox cosmetic specialist at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Home inspectors, contractors, roofers, all kinds of pros recommend Leaf Filter. Why? Topped by stainless steel micro mesh, Leaf Filter is engineered for protection. In testing, Leaf Filter handles double the water volume of common hood style guards without overflow. Our product design is driven by relentless innovation, ensuring optimal performance even in the toughest storms. And we back it all with a lifetime clog-free guarantee.
Call 833 Filter or visit leaffilter.com.
At Gamebridge, we rise to chase dreams, build futures, and take care of those we love. Isn't it time what you work for worked for you? Gatebridge, let your money work for you.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time. Then I let in the light to help see more of the light inside of me.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone, building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
Got this.
As the Trump administration has been sending ICE agents into airports, they've also spoken publicly about deploying ICE agents to the polls in November. The idea has been floated by Trump's former strategist, Steve Bannon, addressed by his new DHS secretary, Markwayne Mullin, and referenced by his personal attorney, who just became the new acting attorney general.
Why is there objection to sending ICE officers to polling places? Illegals can't vote. It doesn't make any sense.
That question seems to telegraph what's ahead in Trump's multi-pronged effort to interfere in state-run elections. Just this week, Trump signed an executive order that would allow the federal government to take over mail-in voting, basically allowing Trump officials to decide who gets to vote. Stacey Abrams is the founder of Fair Fight Action and lead organizer of the 10 Steps campaign against the rise of authoritarianism in the U.S. Today, they launched an initiative to end ICE family detention, and she joins me now. Stacey, it's so good to see you. So, with this executive order targeting mail-in ballots, what would the implications be if DHS were to have the ability to create and control a verified voters list?
So we have to remember that this is all of a piece. These are administrative attempts to shave points. Every election for the last decade has been decided on the margins. We are no longer having landslides. And so their attempt is to limit who gets counted and how many votes can go to the other side. And so we can't look at these as isolated pieces. They are all of a piece. It's the sum of the parts. So you use the mail-in voting restrictions so you can limit senior citizens, rural folks, students, people of color, the disabled, and you stop them from participating. Then you move over to the challenge of building a voting database that has been proven in every state that has tried this. It has been proven to be flawed. In Texas, in Kansas, in Missouri, the number of people who are falsely denied the right to vote went as high as 35% in Missouri. It was about 14% error rate in Texas, and just one county. And in Kansas, I think it was almost 30,000 people who were falsely accused of not being entitled to vote, although they've gone through a naturalization service. And so we know that these attempts are designed to marry together all of the greatest hits of voter suppression so that they can eke out wins wherever they face losses.
You know, Cynthia, one of the things that I've been surprised Democrats haven't been speaking out about more clearly is the extent to which the Trump administration has tried to tie election administration to the future of immigration policy in this country. You know, for example, the way that they very specifically tried to tie the fate of the SAVE Act, which you hear a lot of people describe as a voter ID law, when really it is a showing your citizenship papers in order to be able to vote law. And they tried to tie that in with the DHS funding side. And I think it tells a very good story from what we're saying that sort of speaks to this one concept and how they shade and reshape this country.
Because we're so trained in this moment by this regime to focus on the crisis in front of us instead of seeing how they've laddered up to this moment. At the very top of this story, you had Todd Blanche saying, "Oh, why would anyone be concerned about ICE?" Well, in 1981, the Republican National Committee had what they called their National Ballot Security Task Force in New Jersey. And they were so egregious. They wore armbands. These were off-duty officers who wore armbands and patrolled polling places with black and brown voters. And it was so effective that the Republican won by, I think, worth like around 1,800 votes. It was that narrow. And it was so egregious that a federal court forced a consent decree where Republicans agreed not to have election security forces for 30 years. When did it get lifted? 2018 under Donald Trump. It's because they know that it works. They know that if they can scare black and brown folks who under the Supreme Court right now can be pulled out of line by ICE based on skin color, language, and accent. You don't have to be not a citizen. You simply have to look like someone they don't think should be a citizen. And to your point, Antonia, it's all coming together. We are talking about it, but we have to talk about that and talk about Iran and talk about the detention of thousands of children in this country in prison camps. And so I think part of the challenge is not that Democrats aren't talking about it, it's that we have to hold the public attention when the chaos is so profound and so profuse that it's hard to get people to focus. But that's the reason we have the 10 Steps campaign, and that's the reason we're doing this work.
Is that why you've traveled to Dilley, Texas? Tell me why you're there and what you've learned about our system.
As a children's book author, I've been privileged to write 3 children's books, and one of my books is about different cultures, different communities. Another one is about the importance of speaking up, even if it feels like you may not win. And when I was reading the ProPublica stories about what was happening in Dilley and what's happening around the country and what will get worse with the massive purchase of ICE facilities around this country, they are designed not to hold criminals, but to hold families. And that is why it is time now for us to start this conversation. Read Them Home is about raising public awareness that we have children, we have babies who are in detention facilities right now, being fed moldy food, being denied access to health care. These are babies who are being told that their mental distress is just de rigueur.
It's time for a
That's
civil war.
wrong, and it is immoral, but it's, to your
Donald
point, part of a
Trump.
larger narrative about who we
It's bad,
believe
guy.
belongs. It's why the birthright citizenship case was in front of the Supreme Court. But what we're trying to do
This
is help
is the
focus
finals
not only the
ongoing.
mind, but the hearts. If Americans can't remember that children do not deserve
We
to be
need to stop
incarcerated
them.
and tortured, then our democracy is already lost. And so we're asking everyone to join us in reading them home. We spent today 12 hours with extraordinary people reading stories to children in absentia. But we're asking every American of good conscience to read a book, to go to readthemhome.org, record yourself reading a children's story, post it online, use the hashtag readthemhome. If millions of us do this, we can start to remind ourselves of who we are and who we say we want to be. That's the important moment that we're facing right now.
Stacey Abrams, thank you so much for putting all these threads, these pieces together, and for your advocacy for children. As someone who's reported on Dilley and other facilities like it, I know how hard it is for those kids to get their stories out there, for their families to feel heard, seen, and respected. So thank you. Thanks for the work you're doing. Still to come, Donald Trump's address caused stocks to fall and oil prices to rise. So what happens next in his war on Iran after this?
My moderate to severe Crohn's symptoms kept me out of the picture. Now I have Skyrizi.
And now, I'm back in the picture. Skyrizi is the only IL-23 inhibitor proven to help achieve remission, meaning few no symptoms in just 4 weeks for some people. Many were in remission at 12 weeks, at 1 year, and even at 4 years.
Plus, Skyrizi is proven to help visibly repair damage of the intestinal lining.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's.
Now's the time to take control of your Crohn's. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's disease.
Somewhere out there, someone's paying $30 for a single plate of steak and shrimp. What? And a lobster tail, and you're pushing $50. Really?
But here, it's only $7.99.
Here we're balling. It's actually fire. What is?
Yeah, fire.
Yeah, it's fire. It's fireballing.
I thought people exaggerated about the pain from shingles.
I was wrong. I learned that the hard way.
But you don't have to get the look into Talk to your healthcare provider today.
The UPS store is more than just a shipping store. We're the packet shipping guaranteed store.